Hello, everyone, and happy Sunday. As always, Nick Marro here with DFS Jayhawk to help you break down tonight's NBA DFS main slate. It is daylight savings time, and the slate's earlier than it is on the weekdays, so don't adjust your screens. This is live, 4:45 Eastern right now as we're getting started. The main slate locks at 6 p.m. Eastern, so just keep that in mind as we go through. If you are using the model today, make sure you're checking the DK or FanDuel main boxes just because there is an early game on right now. I think the Bucks are playing, right? Bucks Clips, something like that. So yeah, that's not on the slate. And yeah, before we get started here, shouts out Unicorn Love. Good evening, all. I just want to say, out of all the shows I've listened to, you guys are the best. We definitely appreciate that, especially on a Sunday where we're adjusting to daylight savings. I know we're both a little bit tired, but we've been doing some digging here, so we think we'll have some good plays for you. But how's it going, Jayhawk? What are your initial thoughts on this slate? Before we got started, we both kind of agreed it's kind of interesting, some of the ownership we're seeing.
Yeah, man, it seems like back-to-back Sundays now. I think I was on here with Eric last Sunday. We're really good, like GPP slates. Just a lot of the ownership here condensed on Miami. We'll get into that, but just a ton of great games here, ton of low on spots. So really excited to break this down.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. I mean, Sam Merrill's the most popular play on the slate, so that's never a great thing. But I mean, he is going to look good if he starts here. Then Miami's in a great spot against Washington, but they're really only missing Hero and Richardson. Like, there's not a ton of, I don't know. I'm a little bit surprised by how chalky they are. But yeah, we got a few games to get through here. What is it, 7-game slate, I think? Both
Yeah,
sites cut off that Timberwolves Lakers game, so we can enjoy that game as fans. Not really worry about it for tonight's slate, but let's go through the key injury news first. Just pulling up the injury report on my other screen. And as always, guys, please like the channel, like the stream, subscribe to the channel, get in any questions. We'll definitely get to them all today on Sunday. We should have plenty of time here. Are you on double duty today? Or are you on Discord right after this?
I am. Yeah, double
Okay.
duty. Typically the weekends for me.
Yeah, man. No, it's appreciated. But yeah, I'll
Yeah.
definitely keep that in mind. I don't want to make it so you're
Oh no, you're
rushing
all
over
good.
there. But yeah, so we're ignoring that 3 o'clock game. So the Rockets, looking at their injury report, still no Tyrese and nothing really significant there. Really nothing significant for the Kings. We'll go position by position after, so we'll only talk about the situations where we need to break down injuries. No Benedict Mathurin for the Pacers for the foreseeable future. This isn't moving the needle much for me because it's a terrible matchup against Orlando. Halliburton kind of playing banged up, it seems. I don't know. The field's not getting here. Is there anything from Indy that's jumping out to you with Mathurin out now?
Yeah, man. Not too much. I feel like it kind of just affects these role players for Indiana. So guys like Toppin, Neesmith, I think they primarily affect them, but it's really tough, man. Like Halliburton's been really bad. So
Yeah.
I would love to get to these guys, man, but I don't know, man. I can't get to them. What about you
Yeah.
though?
No, I feel kind of the same, and it's tough. I mean, if it was another team, I feel like we'd probably be on something. But the way Carlisle kind of mixes and matches his rotations, it's always tough to read. So not only do you need your guys to have good games, but you also need to be in Carlisle's favor on a given day, which makes it, yeah, like you're gambling twice instead of once, as we have to with some of these other teams. But no, I totally agree. But on the other side of this one, we do have some interesting news here. So. No Markel Fultz, or he's questionable, right? And then Jalen Suggs as well. Or have they already been ruled out? I
Yeah.
pulled, yeah, the 4:30 injury report had them both questionable, but you're right. Yeah, it looks like they're both ruled out. They're going to be starting Gary Harris at the point guard tonight.
Oh,
Caleb Houston sliding into the starting lineup with Wagner, Bonchero, and Carter. I might have to run an update here in a minute, but yeah, Harris at point guard. Pretty interesting. I have to imagine he hit this ownership climbs up 0% on DK right now, 2% on FanDuel. Not your traditional point guard, but I guess where are you at on Orlando now? Because it is a great matchup for them. I mean, they're going to be paced up. Indy's defense hasn't been all that great. And yeah, Orlando's a team that definitely has some guys that can score in bunches. So
yeah, man. Actually, contrary to the Indiana side, I really do like this side for Orlando. I think starting up top, I think Banchero and Wagner both fine at their respective ownerships. Good tournament plays, but the guys I really want to get to here are the guards. So guys like Cole Anthony, Gary Harris, I think are pretty good plays here. And then one more shout, Wendell Carter. I know I'm kind of going through all the plays.
no, you're good.
Wendell Carter, I've been on for a couple of sites now, low ownership. This is another fantastic spot against Indiana. So I like him in tournaments a lot as well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these ownerships update. We'll definitely refresh the data a little bit before we go position by position, but I don't know. Like, is Gary Harris really going to be the point guard here, or are we going to see Franz kind of running point? That's kind of what I'm guessing. That the offense is going to move through him a lot. So he was already a play I was on before we had this news. 7K flat, 7,400 on FanDuel. I mean, definitely reasonably priced. If you get to Banchero, obviously is the higher ceiling, but I really, really do like Franz here, assuming he's going to do some ball handling. And then Cole Anthony's always a little dicey because he comes off the bench. The minutes are kind of inconsistent, but I don't know. I'm not an Anthony Black guy. I think he's the one true point guard here other than Black. So I'm probably going to want to get to some Anthony, but we'll wait and see how this shakes out. But Orlando, definitely a team we're going to be targeting heavily. Moving into the next game, we have the Pelicans and the Hawks. Nothing too significant for the Pels. Daniel's still out. Looks like they got Cody Zeller back, so take that for what it's worth. Probably not much. But yeah, their big three is all healthy. We got Zion, Ingram, CJ in there. Anything from New Orleans standing out to you? It looks like the field is getting to Zion pretty aggressively. Atlanta's front court defense has kind of been hit or miss.
Yeah, man. Zion's coming off a really big game. I really liked him against Philly the last time out in tournaments. Once again, this is another fantastic spot. He's another guy, kind of like Kate. He's been really good post All Star break. So, yeah, I love Zion. And then Brandon Ingram, kind of similar. Big ceiling, great spot. So I don't mind Ingram as well here.
Yeah, I'm with you. These guys do look fine. I mean, they're kind of priced close to where they should be. Zion may be a little bit too cheap still. Wide range of outcomes for him, but this is a good matchup. But let's see here. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Not much ownership going there. This game does have pretty high 221.5 point total. There's obviously games with higher totals on this slate, but I don't mind this game environment at all. And then on the other side, we have Atlanta. DeJounte Murray is available. Obviously, still no Trey Young. Jalen Johnson out as well. So some usage definitely available. Probably going to boost these wings. It's been tough night to night to kind of predict who it's going to be, whether it's going to be Bay, Hunter, Bogdanovich. Any of these guys standing out to you? And do you buy this 39% ownership on Fernando on FanDuel? To me, that seems a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah, man. I don't know about Fernando. 40% projected ownership with Capella in. Not too sure about that. One shot here. Sadiq Bey was freaking awful, and I mean really bad the last game.
Mhm.
Um, Pretty much nuked the vast majority of my lineups. I think he's still fine in tournaments. I don't love him at his new price point. But obviously they're still down Jalen Johnson, so I get it. Um, and then yeah, I mean I would love to get the guys here, but I think DeJounte is probably the guy I get the most of if I'm getting anyone.
Yeah, yeah, and I agree. I mean, he's really going to run this team as long as Trey's out. With Jalen Johnson out as well, we could feel even better about that usage. I mean, if we see Vit Krejci again, if you want to slide him in at min price, I mean, he did come close to hitting value. Not something I'm excited to play, but 22 to 24 minutes for him probably is enough to get to value or close to it. But yeah, man, I agree. I mean, maybe I go back to Bay here coming off that terrible game. He killed me as well. I was right there with you. Bogdanovich kind of scoring dependent. Not the best matchup, but a tighter spread here with the game being in Atlanta than one might expect. Just 6.5 point favorites the Pels are, and that spread seems to be narrowing. So maybe keep an eye on the Pels. Maybe we get someone ruled out later, something that we haven't seen yet. But for now, definitely prefer the New Orleans side. Not a terrible game to target though. Moving right into the next game here, we have the Wizards at Miami, which seems to be where a lot of this ownership's concentrated. We'll start on the Washington side. No Marvin Bagley. Rashawn Holmes is questionable. I will say if he starts, he does look to be good value. I mean, he's had a few good games as a starter. His price is up a bit, but probably not as much as it maybe should be, especially over on DK where he's still sub 5K, 5,700 on FanDuel where you can only play one center. Holmes against Bam, probably not something I'm looking to do, but I don't mind Denny. But yeah, I mean, there's really no injuries here that are factoring in a big way. Bagley's been out for a little bit, but anything on Washington standing out to you? And then I'm sure we're gonna have to spend some extra time on Miami here.
Yeah, man. This is kind of similar to the Indiana side where it's like I think there's guys in play, but it's a pretty tough matchup here
Mhm.
against Miami. So I think Advia and Kuzma probably would be my favorite in the spot. Especially if Holmes sits, I think Kuzma at low ownership, if he starts with the 5 man, could be a really good tournament play. So
Yeah, no, and totally, and I agree. And we've seen with Kuzma starting at the 5, he benefits in a big way, but so does Denny. I mean, Denny's had these games where they don't run a center out other than Kuz, where he's having like 15 rebounds. So definitely boosts his upside here, even against Bam. I mean, there's just a lot of boards to be had. Washington shoots a lot, doesn't always make it, but if they can collect some of those boards, maybe they can keep this game close. Currently an 11.5 point spread, one of the wider spreads on the board, which makes it interesting because obviously it's a great matchup for Miami. I'll talk through their injury report, but these ownerships a little bit inflated in my opinion. Miami's no Tyler Hero, Kevin Love's still out, Richardson's still out. Those are the significant injuries though. So we're looking at Butler as one of the most popular plays on the slate. Bam, great matchup, reasonable price, very very popular. Caleb Martin, Terry Rozier, all interesting. Jaime Jaquez a little bit lower owned than some of these other guys, but over 10% on both sides as well. But yeah, where are you at on Miami? Because I do like them, but I think in terms of ownership, like everything else is maybe lower owned than these guys, so it makes it kind of easy to get away from them in tournaments. But is there anything here that you feel is like a core or a must?
Yeah, it's really tough, man. I mean, all these guys are in a great spot against Washington. I think my favorite would be Butler. I know he's the highest owned, but he's kind of been the main guy there. Obviously, runs the show there for Miami. So Butler probably my favorite, and then my second favorite is actually Caleb Martin here, at that power forward slot. He does seem a little bit too cheap for his role matchup here. So probably those two. I'm not too high on Bam, man. I think there's a ton of great elite center plays. So I think he's fine though. Great matchup for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm a little bit surprised by the Terry ownership. Like he's had one ceiling game against Dallas. Other than that, he really hasn't been great. Um, I don't mind Duncan Robinson, kind of scoring dependent. I will say this: whoever starts at the four might be my favorite Heat player. Whether it's going to be Caleb Martin or Jovic, just because he's going to be very low owned. If he does start, he's hit value in 4 of his last 5 games. So something I'm keeping an eye on, especially on FanDuel. Where you can play him at power forward. He has power forward eligibility on both sites, though. And he's one of those players, too, that's kind of a hybrid. Like, if this game does get out of hand, he's probably still going to get his regular rotation. Like, obviously, they're going to rest Butler and Bam if they're up by 30 going into the fourth, but I wouldn't be shocked if Jovic still got his full rotation. So, definitely keeping an eye on that starting lineup. I think whether it's Martin or Jovic, you're probably going to want to play the four there. And I agree. Butler's probably my second favorite. So, yeah, interesting. I do think these guys are overowned. If we do get more news to break and value opens up elsewhere, maybe things flatten out. But for now, in tournaments, like as good as these plays look, I mean, you could probably get away from most of them and still find ways to put up some nice scores tonight. But yeah, let's see here. Okay, we got some questions and comments in the chat. Jose, we're going through kind of game by game now, but yeah, I mean, just looking at the board, I mean, this game's the most popular. I really do like the Rockets King game, which we'll get to in a minute. 234 total in that one of the highest on the board. They're pretty healthy. Got some good payups there. A lot of low totals tonight. I mean, there's more totals under 230 than I think we've seen on any main slate this season. But yeah, the Wizards Heat have the second highest total. For me, I like this one a lot, but not as much as the field. So I'll say Rockets Kings is definitely a game that's standing out for me. But where are you at, Jayhawk, in terms of is there a game you're especially favoriting? It looks like the field's on this Heat Washington game.
Yeah, I think the Heat Washington game, obviously great game. There is ownership there, but I agree with you, man. I really like the Houston Sacramento game. Just great spend ups all over the board there, and then you also have like mid tier plays like Monk, Keegan Murray that could potentially have a good game as well. So that game I love, and then we briefly mentioned the Atlanta Hawks game. I think that game could be sneaky tournaments as well.
Yeah, if the Hawks can keep that close, which I think they're capable of, that's definitely an interesting game. I was a little bit surprised about how tight that spread was, but I don't know. I mean, they played pretty well at home even without Trey. Some are saying their defense has actually improved without Trey Young. Probably true statistically. Jose, with the kind words, definitely appreciate that, man. Unicorn Love, McCollum, 7,300 on FanDuel. He's fine. He's not a priority for me with the Pels fully healthy, but he's probably a little too cheap for his upside. T. Ed's here. Kuzma going to get Miami full attention today. And I mean, he honestly could. And if he does, maybe that favors Denny, Tyus Jones, something like that. But at the same time, I mean, Kuz, I don't know. When you have such a high usage rate and you're getting the extra rebounds if you start at the five, I mean, he could still probably get there, even if they're kind of clamping on him a little bit. I mean, he's probably going to play 35 plus minutes in a close game. Um, and then Ed's here as well. What late injury news do we have pending? So we're going through the injury report right now. As we go through, we'll kind of talk through what's still pending. But yeah, definitely appreciate you tuning in. And then one more from TS here, Cavs value season. There is definitely some value there. We're going to get into that game in just a minute. But yeah, let's keep moving right along. And we got this Cavs game next. I got my Nets hat on. Turned it forward today for Sunday. Got my hood up. I'm in weekend mode. But yeah, we got the Nets. Still no Cam Johnson. Ben Simmons is out for the season. Probably done with the Nets, hopefully, for his career. But yeah, Cam Thomas is back. He looked great. I didn't get to him because I thought they were going to limit his minutes, but he was shooting so well. They still played him 30. I mean, is it a back-to-back for them? They played last night.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're projecting him for 31. I mean, at his price, 6,800, he does have some upside, definitely more of a tournament play. Dennis Schroeder, the one guy on this team kind of drawing any sort of ownership, a little bit too cheap on both sides, but wide range of outcomes for him. I don't mind getting there. Claxton looks fine. Davon Sharp is back, though, which could cut it into his minutes upside. But yeah, any Nets here? I mean, obviously this Cleveland matchup isn't ideal. Still no Mobley, though, so they're not quite as good defensively, but I don't know. Only a 7.5 point total. Definitely not something jumping off the board, really.
Yeah, man. I would love to get your Brooklyn Nets here, man. It's just I don't know. I don't
I'm
love
not
the
offended.
total. I don't want you to take any hits. Yeah, Cam Thomas coming off that huge game last night. I agree. Pretty tough spot here on a back to back. So I don't think I'll get to too much Cam Thomas, but yeah, Dennis Schroeder picking up 10% ownership. I guess it's fine. I don't love it, but yeah, it's really tough for me to get to Brooklyn, man. I'd love to though if I could.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the one play I'm really interested in is probably Schroeder. Maybe mix Cam into some tournament lineups, but yeah, I just like what Schroeder's been doing. I mean, the offense runs through him. He's playing more minutes than anyone on this team. We have him pushing 37. So yeah, I mean, maybe some Schroeder could maybe mix in Cam. Like I said, I don't mind Claxton, but he's priced up, and with Sharp back, that could cut into his minutes. So not much to love here over on Brooklyn, but we got the other side of this game. Cleveland, no Ty Jerome, obviously not the biggest news here. We got no Mitchell or Mobley or Strus, though. And Dean Wade is actually out for personal reasons as well. So we're seeing Sam Merrill is the highest owned play on the slate, scoring dependent, but projecting him for 30 minutes. Allen's been really great. This is his former team, the team that drafted him. Priced up to 9K on FanDuel now. Feels a little bit inflated.
Crazy.
Yeah, Georges Niang, probably coming off the bench. We'll have to wait and see there, but he's drawing some ownership. Okoro, a guy I've been heavy on just because the field hasn't been getting there, has actually been working out, but now he's priced up and popular, which makes this a little bit interesting. Craig Porter getting some love on DK where he's mid-price. Levert off the bench looks okay. Then Garland on DK. I know AK isn't all that appealing. He hasn't really spiked the ceiling lately, but 8% owned. I don't mind him as a tournament play, but how do you feel about Merrill, first and foremost? And then I guess what are your general thoughts on Cleveland here? Because after Miami, it looks like they are probably the second most popular team on the slate. But unlike Miami, I think most of this is warranted.
I completely agree, man. I really like Cleveland here, particularly the value, like you guys mentioned. I think that, Georges Niang and Sam Merrill, two of the top value plays here, particularly Merrill, obviously coming in really chalk, but even if he doesn't start here, should play a ton of minutes off the bench in a great spot. So really like Merrill, really like Niang, especially with no Dean Wade. So like those two. And then you mentioned guys like Garland and Allen. I prefer Allen between the two. I just think Allen's a little bit too cheap on DK. But Garland at 5% ownership, and this spot I think is a really good term play as well. So tons of great plays here.
Yeah, did that Cleveland Minnesota game must have went to overtime last game, right? I think
I did.
Allen. Yeah, Allen played 46 minutes at 69 DK points, 70 FanDuel points. One of the best games of his career against Rudy Gobert too. So really, really impressive. 18 rebounds. If you're just looking at game logs, I mean, you can't really expect the same. He is priced up off the back of that game. But again, I mean, the Nets haven't been great defensively. With Mobley out, we've seen bigger games out of Allen. So I do agree. I'd probably play him over Garland. And then just going back on Yang, I know I kind of just glossed over him, but you're right. I mean, if he starts and Dean Wade's out, really going to be tough to get away from. And at 4% on FanDuel, you're paying a bit of a premium at 5,100, but I wouldn't mind getting there as well because he's hitting value at that price when he's playing 30 plus minutes for the most part. Obviously, some extra usage here as well. So really, really do like Cleveland. Hopefully, my Nets can keep it close and these guys play their full minutes. But yeah, definitely a spot we're going to be considering. Moving into the next game here, we have the Grizzlies and the Thunder. So Grizzlies, no Bain, Clark, Goodwin is doubtful, Jackson questionable, Kennard questionable, Contract doubtful. And I want to pull up the spread too. because
It's got to be crazy, right?
it's got to be wide, right? I'm trying to find it. Is it not on the slate? Am I looking into?
No, it is. It is.
Oh, there it is. 15. Yeah, we're looking at a football spread here. So never
It
a good thing when we're playing NBA DFS. But yeah, let's start with Memphis. I mean, I don't know if I play anything here, maybe it's Laravia. As insane as that sound, kid's been really good. Probably one of those hybrid players that could play into a blowout, even if this game were to get out of hand. Obviously, Jackson's been exceptional, but I don't love the matchup. I don't know, man. How you feel about Memphis here?
Yeah, man. Let's start with Jackson. Typically, I would be on him, but I think he's the first one pulled here if this game gets even
Mhm.
relatively, blown out. So I'm not on Jackson tonight. You mentioned Laravia. It kind of depends on Kennard and all these guys' statuses, but if most of these guys are out, man. I love Laravia. He's a really good young player, so I like that call a lot. And then I think Vince Williams is also questionable. GG Jackson questionable. So like, dude, how do we even break this down, man? Because like I looked at the DK guards, like I don't see any viable guards after like all these guys sit. Like we can't play anyone, man. Like what are we supposed to do?
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. And I think Laravia would run the point,
Yeah.
even though he doesn't have guard eligibility, which is annoying. But 26 minutes, 30 DK points, 31 minutes, 40 DK points, 28 minutes, 35 DK points. I mean, he's been playing really well. He shoots the three, decent 3-point shooter, but he takes enough that we're seeing him consistently hit value. I'm just trying to find his assist numbers. I mean, he hasn't been facilitating as much as we probably like to see. The issue too, though, is you're on the Grizzlies. I mean, you can make a good pass, and if the ball doesn't go in, you don't get an assist. So, yeah, Laravia is probably my favorite play here. Would feel better about it if Kennard's out. I think he could start even if Kennard's in. They could start him on the wing. So very low owned. That's kind of a sneaky play for me today that I'll keep an eye on. And like I said, even if this game were to blow out, he probably gets some decent run. But other than that, man, I mean, this is a mess. They're going to have one of the shorter benches. They did just bring in Wendy and Gabriel. He's probably going to get minutes here. All their whole bench is bigs. It's Stevens, Gabriel, Jameson, Jackson. So yeah, I don't even know if they have enough players to run out a team if these guys aren't all available. And also keep this in mind. Sometimes we see this situation. I think you need 9 guys, or maybe it's 8, to officially play a game. So they can take someone like Kennard who's hurt, call him active, and if it's a guy who normally starts that isn't starting, but they're called active, just be careful with someone like that because they could get DNP'd just so they have the opportunity to play the game. And I could see that maybe happening here. So if you see Williams or Kennard are active but not starting, don't play them. They're probably not going to play unless they need to in an emergency situation. Again, Laravia is the one guy I like here. Obviously, some blowout risk. OKC looks good on the other side. But yeah, let me pull up their injury report. I don't think they have anyone listed today. So a completely empty injury report for OKC. SGA, obviously one of the higher ceilings on the slate, but the way his rotations run, he doesn't come until late in the fourth quarter. So if this game is out of hand, you're going to lose a lot of minutes for him. Chet looks fine. Giddy, not going to get there. I mean, Dort's cheap enough that maybe you could consider him as a last piece in. But yeah, man, widespread here. Not the paciest spot either. Is there anything from OKC you're prioritizing? I'm sure you want to maybe mix in some SGA, but it's kind of tough in this matchup.
Yeah, man. I don't want to deviate too much, but did you see that interview with SGA about him having his entire life being smooth? I thought that was so funny.
Yeah, yeah, man, that was hilarious.
But
He's
yeah,
a character.
so literally SGA. I mean, he's got 30 plus almost every game this year. I think he's fine up top. 18% protected on, or what is he now? 7%.
So
I think he's fine in tournaments. A little bit worried about blowout, obviously with Memphis, but he could do the blowing out most likely. So he's fine. I don't love it. Don't hate it. It's really tough to get to anyone with this spread, man.
yeah, just don't have to. And it's not
Yeah.
like there's. And the other thing too, not only is the spread wide, but they're completely healthy. So they're all kind of priced where they should be. Not a ton of meat on the bone. Could one of these guys spike a ceiling? Sure, but you're kind of plucking them out of a bucket with a lot of options here. So I don't mind SGA. Maybe Jalen Williams would kind of fill a similar category for a little bit cheaper. But yeah, kind of tough to get excited about them against Memphis here. I can't imagine Memphis keeps this game close, especially if they only have 8 guys available. Definitely something to keep an eye on, though. Let's see. I think we got another game or two. I'll check comments first. Yeah, Laravia, terrific play, perfect score for DK. We love that. Any Kyle Lowry love? I'm certainly getting there on FanDuel. We'll talk about that in just a minute. As talking 8 guys going into this Memphis breakdown, pretty much on par with what we're saying. But yeah, Jaren, Santi, Vince, first to bench. Rest of the Grizzlies should be safe regardless. Still a bad matchup though, and it's not like there's any huge producers other than Laravia. I don't know. Maybe Lamar Stevens, I guess, but he's kind of a vet too now. I don't know that they need to give him a ton of run.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, someone has to play the minutes if they're going to play the game. But yeah, let's use this as an opportunity to get in the next game here. That's enough about Memphis. We got the Sixers, and we can answer your Kyle Lowry question here against the Knicks. Covington, Embiid, Maxey, and Melton still out for Philly. So let me just pull them up first, and then we'll talk through the Knicks as well. But yeah, seeing tons of ownership on Oubre over on FanDuel, where he's 5,200. Really not popular on DK, where he's 500 more expensive. I don't mind him at the ownership over there. Obviously on FanDuel, the discount makes him more appealing, but at the same time, he is running the point here with no Maxey, Melton, etc. Oubre prices up a bit. I don't mind getting to him as a tournament play, though. Obviously high ceiling. Tobias Harris, probably not for me. Buddy Hield, don't mind him. It's going to be interesting to see who starts at center here. Paul Reed's been excellent, whether he's starting or off the bench. Obama's been kind of bad, regardless of whether he's starting or coming off the bench. But yeah, where are you at on Philly? Could you see yourself getting some low on Lowry on DK, Oubre? Obviously not a great matchup with New York, but there is some usage to go around here.
Yeah, I definitely see, why some of these guys could be in play. I just think for me, honestly, we have so many good spots with I prefer that's better value mid-tier plays. So I probably won't get to too much. I guess my favorite would be Lowry at 57. I feel like Uber is too pricey now, so I'd be fine on FanDuel at 27%. But on DraftKings, man, it's kind of tough to get to anyone here from Philly.
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, Oubre had been having huge games off the bench. He is projected to start here. I wouldn't be shocked if they went with Batum and brought him off the bench. I think either way, he's okay. I will say the model loves him. I mean, 13.4 value rating on DK, 13 on FanDuel. Definitely pretty high, relatively speaking. So Oubre looks good on paper. Lowry, I'm with that as well. And I think Healed – not a priority at all, but he'd probably be the third guy for me. But I agree. Not a great matchup. 211-point total. Really not a spot we need to be chasing. On the other side, we do have the Knicks, though. Let's see here. So OG's still out. No Randall, no Robinson. They do get Brunson back, though. He's been back for a game or two. Hart, his price is back down. Still drawing decent ownership, though. He's been excellent. Brunson, around 10% on both sides. DiVincenzo, 22% on FanDuel. Even with Brunson in, feels a little bit hefty to me at 7K. But yeah, how you feeling about these Knicks here? Obviously, Tibbs likes to run his tight rotations, but with Brunson back, that is definitely hurting the upside of a lot of these other guys.
Yeah, man, it's definitely a good spot here for New York. But yeah, all these guys like Brunson, DiVincenzo, Hart, I feel like Brunson would probably be my favorite. He's kind of just the main guy there. It just feels like to me, DiVincenzo and Hart are kind of priced up where they should be now. I don't know, man. It's a great spot for sure. I guess Brunson would be my favorite though. How about you?
Yeah, I think Hart for me, just because you could play him in either forward position on FanDuel. You could play him at guard or forward on DK. So he's definitely like helpful in terms of lineup construction. Um, Brunson, he played limited minutes last game. We do have him playing 35 this time around, though. And if he's healthy, Tibbs is going to let him run. So I don't mind Brunson as a tournament play, but you're paying a premium for him. I guess Hart's my favorite, but again, nothing here I'd really consider a core play. So yeah, 211 total with no one really hurt besides the guys who've already been kind of priced into the algorithms. Nothing to pluck aggressively from that one, but yeah, I think that's the last game on the slate, right? I didn't miss any.
Mhm.
Yeah, that Timberwolves Lakers game is not on the board. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit refresh. I'm going to check if you guys have any other additional questions. Um, yeah, can I play 4 Cleveland players tonight? What are your thoughts on that one? From
Uh, I think you could. I don't, man. I just don't love playing more than like three players. Like typically, it would kind of depend on what the four would be, but typically I like to play three. How about you though?
I mean, it's tricky because like Niang and Merrill are probably two of the best value plays on the slate.
Yeah.
And we can make a really good argument for playing Allen. So
Hmm.
those three, and maybe Garland. Like it's not insane. So if you're landing on 4, I don't think it's crazy. I prefer 3 though. But where 2 of the best value plays are on this team, I don't think it's crazy. It's just again not something we usually want to do, but they are thin. So yeah, I'd say probably prefer 3. But what else we got here? Mr. Pels. Yeah, so the Pels are healthy for the most part. Their big three's in. We both said Zion's fine, Ingram's okay, CJ. All the big three are good, but they're kind of priced where they should be. Alvarado was actually drawing some ownership, which I found interesting. No Dyson Daniels, probably partial reason for that. He is very cheap. We only have him for 20 minutes though, so I'd say maybe proceed with caution on that one. Joe Val has been so inconsistent. I just can't get there at all. Um, but yeah, I mean, we're kind of on the big three, but not with tons of aggression or anything, right?
Yeah, I think I don't know. I like Zion a lot. Ingram, I'm just meh with, and then I think CJ. We didn't really talk about him too much, but 6,700 seems really cheap for him. He's been so bad, man. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. I probably won't get there myself, but I mean it's a really good price point.
Yeah, I agree. I think they look good. Zion's probably the best of the bunch. I mean, we have
Yeah,
seen Ingram from time to time spike for an upside, so I'd be comfortable with any of those three, but again, not calling any priorities necessarily.
yeah.
And then Glenn here, where are we starting on FanDuel? If we go quick, I do have a FanDuel window up. Maybe we try to build a quick dummy, but we're gonna go position by position first. And yeah, we got to get Jayhawk off around 6:30 so he could, or 5:30. Again, confused by the daylight savings time. But yeah, where are we at for guards? I mean, who are your priorities here? Just in general. I mean, you could talk about any price range. I'll sort by ownership first.
Yeah, so obviously Sam Merrill probably going to be priority for me. 4,300 just seems too cheap. So I like him. Cole Anthony, I mentioned earlier, was kind of hoping he wouldn't be chalk now, but I still like him. 4,700. They're down 2 of their best cards. So I like him. And then I'm going to give a long shot here. Let's say I liked your Duncan Robinson call, man. I want to say Duncan Robinson, 8% projected ownership against Washington. I like that call a lot.
Yeah, I'm with you on most of that. I do think Merrill's probably fine as chalk as long as he starts. He is scoring dependent. Cole Anthony, I mean, the minutes have been inconsistent, but they're very thin. Even if he plays 25, the model has him with a pretty good value score over on DK. 5,500 on FanDuel, probably a bit more hesitant to get to him over there. We talked through every game by injury, but the one game we didn't really dig into deep is Sacramento Houston, just because no one's hurt there. I do like Monk over on DK at 6,700. 77 on FanDuel feels a bit insane. But if we're sorting by OF index, I mean, we talked about the wide spread with SGA. I actually think Fox might be one of my favorite payups tonight. Definitely like getting to him. And then Van Fleet, his price is up. He's been playing a little bit better. I could see mixing him or Jalen Green in from that game as well. It's a very appealing game. No one's that popular there. And like I said, I mean, we touched on every game for injuries, but one of my favorite games we didn't really dig into just because they're healthy. But there are some pieces in that backcourt. And I did talk about Schroeder earlier. I think he's kind of sneaky. He's someone I'd maybe consider, but a lot of guards to like. I mean, if we're looking at what's chalk, I think Merrill and Anthony are both logical on DK. I mean, Rozier, 7K, 20%. Maybe get away from that. He definitely is upside at that price, though. A little bit surprised Craig Porter's drawing as much ownership as he is. Um, Lowry on FanDuel, definitely logical value. I think DiVincenzo's probably a little bit too overowned there. Um, but yeah, I think that's a pretty good synopsis. I mean, is there anyone you're paying up for aggressively at guard?
Yeah, you mentioned Fox. I like him a ton up top
Mm,
in that game. And then I think other than him, man, like I don't really have too much I'm paying up for as a true spend up. And I really like that Monk call too. Great spot for Monk. He's been balling, man. So
yeah.
great play there.
Yeah, I think if I am paying up, it's going to be a lot of Fox. And second might be Murray, actually, for Atlanta. I mean, not drawing much ownership. I know you're kind of paying up to get different. But yeah, no Johnson, no Young. He's going to have to run that team. But let's get into forwards now. And again, we're going quick here so we could give you guys dummy builds on both sites. But let me just Okay, so here we go. We got forwards. Obviously, Butler's super popular. Caleb Martin, we talked about. Still waiting to see that lineup. I mean, if Martin's coming off the bench and Jovic starts, I do like him as value. My favorite might be Franz Wagner on this slate. Again, I think he's going to be doing some ball handling. You get him a little bit cheaper than Banchero. Great matchup for both of those Orlando wings. So my favorites are actually Wagner and Banchero probably. But yeah, where are you at on forward right now? I mean, we could talk about any price range, really. We're just trying to cover the whole position.
Yeah, I feel like I'm always the chalk donkey here. I love Jimmy up top, 39% projected ownership, but I mean, this is a
Yeah.
great spot for Jimmy. Love Jimmy. And then I mentioned Zion, man, 8,100. I love the spot against Atlanta. And then who else I want to note here? We mentioned Niang. I think
Mhm.
Niang probably be my third favorite play. 4,400 just seems too cheap on DraftKings. So great spot for Niang with no Dean Wade. And then one more low on shot here. I'm gonna say don't sleep on Jovic if he starts and Martin comes off the bench. I think Jovic would become very sneaky value play.
Yeah, I like that call a lot. A couple more names I'll just shut out is Sadiq Bey coming off that terrible game. I mean, we wanted to play him last slate. He was very popular, let everyone down. Now no one's playing him. Think this is kind of a situation where you can zig when the field's zagging. Then we did talk about Laravia earlier. I think he's a really sneaky play. I mean, no one wants to play him. The model doesn't love him right now, but assuming some of these other guys get ruled out for Memphis, Laravia is a guy who probably plays in the blowout as well. So if you're looking for something very low owned, you're eating a lot of chalk. I don't think he's crazy here. I mean, he's been excellent, priced about where he should be on both sites. A little bit too cheap on DK, in my opinion. Other than that, I mean, I don't mind Hart if I am playing in Nick. A little bit surprised by the Cam Whitmore love. I guess he has upside for his price. I will say this too: don't love the matchup, but if Kuzma's starting at center and Holmes is out, then Denny and Kuzma are going to have increased upside. It's going to be tough for them to keep that game close. But if they do, I mean, Miami's super popular. Washington isn't. I think it's logical to just maybe get to some of those Washington guys as well. But yeah, man, I'm with you. I mean, Yang on DK, definitely tough to get away from. I am playing both sites tonight. Um, but yeah, I can't argue with Butler. He looks damn good at the top. I mean, if we're sorting by OF index, he's the top guy. Then Banchero. Like I said, I love Franz here, assuming he's going to have to kind of play that point forward hybrid type role with them so thin at guard. But we'll wait and see, I guess, with that one. But yeah, man, Jimmy on paper looks excellent. I do get that being chalk. And after we do center, I'll get to any questions before we do the dummies, guys. But yeah, where are you at on center right now? It looks like Bam's chalk, then Allen, Holmgren, Capella. Kind of inconsistent minutes for him, but he's been good. Really like Sengun and Sabonis in that game against each other. If I'm paying up anywhere, I know we talked about at guard how we kind of like Fox, but I'd rather probably use that salary on lower owned Sengun and or Sabonis. Those two look excellent here. But where are you at center, man? This ownership's kind of all over the place.
Yeah, man. Really like those shouts. I think my favorite out of all these guys is probably is Allen. I mean, him without Mobley, man, he's been incredible.
Yeah.
26% protected ownership. I think that is a little bit too low. I think I'd almost swap him and Bam in terms of who I would like at the ownership. So I think Bam's still fine, but I prefer Allen between the two. And then you mentioned Sengun and Sabonis, both these guys, elite tournament plays. At 10%, 11%. Love both these guys up top. And then I mentioned Wendell Carter. No ownership. I think he's another good center play. It's most likely going to be double center night for me
Yeah.
too.
No, I agree, man, and I do like those shouts. Carter definitely sneaky for his price. Great matchup again for Orlando being paced up, and maybe he sees increased usage with that guard rotation pretty thin. Sabonis kind of scoring as a top OF in next play, no surprise there. Your take on Allen, I totally agree. I think I'd rather play him over Bam on DK, especially on FanDuel where he's 9K and Bam's only 8,300. It's a little bit tougher to make that call, but on DK, that's a very logical way to get a little bit different. They're both pretty popular, but I do like that a lot. So, um, okay, I think we covered the position by position. We'll do a DK build, then a quick FanDuel build. We got some news here. Let's see. So Holmes is out. Um, I'm not going to click them all, guys. I'll shout you out though. Ed's hoping everyone loads up on Kuzma so you can fade. I mean,
I
it
like
looks like the ownership's down. But if it does come up, I mean, I get the logic. It's a bad matchup. But yeah,
it.
with Holmes out, both him and Denny are going to see nice boosts here. Franz, go call. Love Franz. Maybe my favorite play on the slate.
Love that.
Zion, shout out to that call as well. Could have dialed them in. And yeah, Power, we're going to talk through FanDuel. Denny uptick. A lot of people talking about the Holmes news. So Where are we starting on DK? Is it Niang and Merrill? Or are we just going to eat that chalk? I think Niang, I like more of the two, but I could see getting to both just because they're
Yeah,
cheap.
I think I'd probably get to both just because they're down Dean Wade too. I know he's not
Mhm.
a high usage guy, but another body there that's down. So
Yeah, I'm with it, man. So where are we going next? We both like Zion. Maybe we go there. 8,100. I'm fine with
actually,
that.
let's go
Or
with
no.
your Franz call. Can we fit in Franz or Franz? How do you pronounce it?
Yeah, he's small forward, but I mean, again, guys, if you're watching, you obviously want your late game guys to be in the center guard forward utility, so you have more
Yeah,
maneuverability if things do change. But I mean, we could put both. I think. I mean, we got Franz, we can go Zion too, and we're still
yeah,
left with 6,500 per player.
I like that.
Um, Point guard, there's a lot to like up top. I think we want to live in this kind of mid range, though. I mean, we talked about Lowry. I don't mind Schroeder. If we're going down even further, there's not a ton. Oh, Cole Anthony,
Yeah,
4,700.
that's what I was thinking. Cole Anthony. Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty damn logical. So we're left with 7K left per player. This actually looks pretty good. Um, I mean, we could maybe fit Sabonis or Sengun.
yeah. I definitely would want to try to get one of these
Who do you?
low on place.
Yeah, I mean, do you have a preference between the two? Obviously, we'll have a little more flexibility with Sengun, but Sabonis probably a
Let's
bit
go
safe.
some. Yeah,
Okay.
let's go some. He's been incredible, man. So let's go some.
Yeah, I agree. He's turned into an absolute beast.
Yeah,
We got 6,100 left per. I mean, I don't
we go
know.
Monk, Malik Monk at
I
guard,
like that. That's a good
6,100.
call. Yep.
Yeah,
We got Malik, and then 5,500 for utility. I'm sure we got something nice here. Let's take a look. I think Jaime's around here. Hunter, Duncan Robinson, Wendell Carter. I mean, we want to go double center. I think Carter's logical. Definitely would
yeah.
feel fine with Robinson in that range too. Or our boy Laravia, the sneaky play
Or
of the day.
Laravia. Yeah,
Yeah, let's get him in there.
hell
Um,
yeah. Love that.
yeah, man. And then we could do the same over on FanDuel real quick. I know we don't always get to FanDuel, but a lot of you guys know I play more on FanDuel. I've been kind of balancing out lately, but I think Lowry makes sense over here, where he's 5,200. Kind of tough to get away from that. Um, I mean, what's Merrill over here? I think
He's
Yang
probably
is
like
priced up, but Merrill's still cheap. Last I checked.
easy. That's good.
Let's go Merrill. I think we have to go Franz here at 7K.
Is he 7K on FanDuel too? Yeah, that's a great play.
7.4, but still, I mean, come on, that's great.
Yeah.
We still have 7,200 per player. I mean, looking at power forward now, I don't know. Butler probably. Did we even play him on the DK site?
I
No.
think we could have moved him up from Zion, but yeah, let's play him on him.
Yeah, that would have been logical. But yeah, we'll go Jimmy here just for the sake of a little differentiation. Um, I don't know. We got Laravia 57, a little bit pricier over here. I mean, Caleb Martin looks okay. And I'll say this once we have that Miami lineup, maybe we do, but we're wrapping up now. If it is Jovic, you could pivot.
Yeah,
Yang probably fine at 5,100. Center. Allen's kind of pricey over here. Yeah. Don't know that I want 11K Sabonis. I don't know. I'll go back to your Wendell Carter play because we've switched him to
okay.
Laravia over there.
I see it.
Um, and what else we got? Fox, maybe, since we didn't go Sabonis.
Yeah.
This looks pretty damn good. Um, I think it's small forward. I actually like Hart on FanDuel because he's
Okay.
74. What's that leave us with? 6-6. I'm just ripping through this. I want to make sure you have time in the Discord. And for those who are new here, we have every single slate, one of us, 30 minutes before lock in there taking questions. We get to every single question in the Discord. So if you get missed here, definitely check out the links in the description below. Very cheap compared to a lot of the other sites out there. You get access to the model you've been seeing throughout the video as well. And then, yeah, we're left in this kind of gross range. I mean, uh, I don't know. We could move. Ugh, this is terrible, honestly. I mean, I guess it would be Buddy Bogdanovich. Just hope
Yeah.
Bogdan spikes the ceiling. I mean, I'd probably move some things around, but for the sake of the video, we'll wrap up there. Tiaz with some strategy here. Consider Cleveland value fade and wait for Grizzlies just to get different. Not a bad idea, man. I mean, you just run the risk of that game being completely out of hand. And even if they have a short team, if they only scored 60 points, it's still going to be tough for some of these guys to hit value. I mentioned I like Laravia. Steven's probably okay, even if that game gets out of hand, but not a terrible idea. I'd probably eat some of it on DK, though. I think Marrow's too cheap on both sites, obviously inconsistent. And then Yang is really tough to get away from on DK. And then this one's right for you, Jayhawk. Don't sleep on your boy, Omer Yuri, now with some of these guys out. Any thoughts on him? I mean, talented player, but doesn't seem like they're committed to giving him minutes.
Yeah, man. I don't know about Omar Yuri. I think I was on him a couple sets ago, or like a long time ago when someone was. I don't remember, but I don't know if I'll get to him tonight, man. Maybe if you're playing like 150, but
It's funny. He actually played better defense on Joker than most have in that game. When they played each other, I think they still blew him out, but he had a really good stint. I thought that was funny. But talented player, kind of defense first though, which isn't always great for DFS. Trey Mann, doubtful Monday. Holmes is out. We already know all this news. So nothing new, guys. I'm going to let Jayhawk get off the channel here so he can get ready for Discord. But thanks again for tuning in. Definitely like this video. Subscribe to the channel. Helps us get more free content like this out to you. You can follow us on Twitter. That's DFS Jayhawk. I'm at Nick Marro DFS. Those links are in the description below as well. But yeah, sign up. Cheaper than most of the other sites out there. Just as good, if not better, information. Model constantly updating throughout the slate. Data updating throughout the night as news breaks. And we're always in Discord helping you answer your questions and helping you cope if you are tilting as well. Which has been fun lately. But yeah, guys, hoping to see some screenshots tonight. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. Let's make some money. Take care.
see you guys. Good luck.